Now, I feel like biracial rappers in hip-hop have always had issues with being accepted by both sides. Being an artist who's biracial in hip-hop might be a blessing and then it might be a curse. I'm talking about J. Cole, I'm talking about Drake, and I'm talking about Logic. 3 rappers who you probably know are biracial and have white mothers and black fathers. It's no secret that these 3 artists have had a little bit of a hard time when it comes to their racial identity, and they all haven't really been shy about expressing those thoughts to the world.
I used to get teased for being black, and now I'm here and I'm not black enough, cause I'm not acting tough or making stories up about where I'm actually from. Half white, but don't think I got a Ku Klux pass. When I'm up in the V, police be fucking with me. No sir, no license, all I got here is this fucking degree.
I'm back again with another argument about how much I'm black again, fighting for credibility from the lack of blacker skin. It's kind of funny how your pigment determines how people perceive you, that's ignorant.
Whenever I listen to J. Cole, Drake, or Logic talking about their race, it seems like there's a lot of scars left on them that still haven't been healed. Even though these are 3 grown men who've seen a lot of success during the time they've been alive, getting over something as deep as your racial identity issues that have practically been haunting you your entire life can't really be easy. Now let's talk about Drake when it comes to his biracial struggles. So we know that Drake is half black and half white, and then he's of course half Jewish, which comes from his white side. There's been a lot of moments in his career where he's felt like he's never really belonged anywhere. His white side has conflicted with his black side, and then considering that he has a Jewish background and the fact that he's not fully Jewish, but he was brought up in a Jewish household and school, that has kind of complicated things for him mentally.
Melissa asks, tweets, Drake claims he wasn't cool in high school. What made you uncool?
I just didn't, it wasn't that I wasn't cool, it was that the kids that were cool, I wasn't on their wavelength, which made me sort of uncool, I guess. So like, you know, it was, I just always felt like an outsider. I went, when I was in Forest Hill, you know, it was an all Jewish school, like, and just being biracial, but still being Jewish. So I was like kind of connected to the kids, but like sort of distant. And when, you know, when kids are young, they don't necessarily comprehend everything.
Right.
So it can get a little cruel and a little mean.
You get teased a lot?
Yeah. I mean, I got it, you know. I got it.
And the same thing goes for J. Cole. He's always been going back and forth between being accepted by white people and black people, and then not being accepted by any of them. But I personally feel like out of Drake, Cole, and Logic, J. Cole is probably the only one out of these 3 who's been the more unapologetic person. J. Cole has really never been afraid of embracing his white side and his black side from a neutral standpoint. The way he talks about his racial identity makes me realize that he's coming from a different mindset compared to Logic and Drake. And I've noticed that Cole has been blessed with having the confidence to dismiss the nonsense surrounding the race talk. In an interview from August 2013, J. Cole decides to address the entire race identity discussion, and this is what he says. So the interviewer asks him, there are artists who talked about the struggles they faced being biracial in the music industry. In hip-hop, have you experienced any pushback for your background? And this is what J. Cole responded with. Not at all, just questions. I think people are curious to know. I get those questions a lot. How has it affected you? Did you have identity issues growing up? I get those questions a lot, but I feel like I represent both sides. The perspective that I'm bringing is a side that's aware of both. I've seen both sides. I wouldn't be able to say the things I say had I not seen the other side. I don't think I'd be aware of the inequalities if I wasn't in these classes with all these white kids, but then all my friends outside of class are not in these classes. And I see what happens in their classes or right down the street at the school that was my district, the school I was supposed to go to. They don't even have books to take home, but why my school, which is 60% white, why does it have more than enough? I don't think I would have been aware of that had I not been brought up with a white mother. It's really interesting to see an artist like J. Cole be so self-aware and so educated when it comes to his own struggles. Now that may sound a little bit weird to you considering you should know about your struggles and be educated enough to discuss them, but it's really not the fact that J. Cole is just educated. It's the fact that he talks about his racial identity in a way where you can easily see that he's not affected by it emotionally to the point where it's tearing him apart. Of course, there's nothing wrong with being affected by your race identity in an emotional way, but the level of maturity and understanding J. Cole has makes me realize that not every biracial person can handle these issues the way he handles them. We can draw a line and compare J. Cole to Drake by looking at the way Drake approaches talking about his race issues. Out of J. Cole and Drake, I see Drake as the person who's more throwing questions out to the universe and looking for answers regarding his race rather than having them. Maybe it's just a difference in how both of these artists function as people that makes them take two completely different routes when it comes to talking about this topic. Obviously, the experience they had as children, aka their childhood, their circumstances and whatnot is gonna affect the way they handle this race issue. But then let's move on to Logic. This is also another artist that has struggled with his racial identity a lot. From being disowned by his own mother at a young age because he didn't look like his brothers who looked black, to now being a grown adult who's still not fully healed because the entire world doesn't take him as he is. The fact is, someone like Logic does actually look white, and that's exactly where I think his issues are originating from. From his own experience, black people never accepted him because he didn't look like one of them. And then on the other hand, white people meet him and they automatically accept him as their own because he looks white, and then they find out that he actually has black blood in him, which then leads to him landing in the middle, not having a place to belong to. I feel like out of J. Cole, Logic, and Drake, Logic is the artist that has always been desperately looking for something to be labeled as. There's a lot of confusion that occurs when someone finds out that the guy you dismissed as just a white boy isn't actually a white boy, but he's biracial. I think being a biracial rapper is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because there's gonna be moments where you get embraced equally by both sides, and then it's also a blessing because you get to share your unique perspective and story as a biracial person. And obviously a lot of biracial people are struggling with being dismissed by their own people, and that in itself is interesting to listen to because you get a deeper understanding of how it is to live as a biracial person. And then it's a curse because you don't get embraced equally, and then you land in the middle where you don't really have a home, and then you feel like nobody accepts you, and then you yourself don't have the courage to fully accept yourself because your confidence has never been built up to a point where you feel like you are enough and you have a home. I think biracial rappers have to get to a point where they're 100% confident in who they are as people and not ever feel the need to prove themselves to anyone, because that's where the real danger is. Now, what do you personally think about this entire subject of biracial rappers in hip-hop? Do you think that biracial rappers have a hard time in hip-hop? Definitely let me know in the comment section below and let's have a discussion about this. But as always, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. This channel is all about bringing together people like you who enjoy music and start a discussion on different topics like this. And of course, like the video if you enjoyed it, follow me on all my social media accounts. It's on the screen, and I'm out.